With the blessings of Thakur Swamiji, let me get started. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Gunatu Sahaviriyam Karavavahai Tejashvinabadhi Tamastu Ma Bidmishabahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsat. Hello and namaskar. Good evening to everybody in India, and good morning or good afternoon to others based on your location. Many thanks for joining our webinar today with renowned spiritual leader and motivational speaker, Swami Sarvapriyananda Maharaj. This is Sandip Nanda on behalf of Sevabrata Foundation, taking the opportunity to welcome you all in this interesting and interactive session at a time when we all are going through so many unwanted challenges in every sphere of our life. As a major part of our activities, we at Sevabrata Foundation are really honored to host the session with Maharaj, who in middle of his busy schedule has agreed to spend some time with us today. Our sincere gratitude to you, Maharaj. So we like to formally inaugurate today's program through our tradition of lighting diya. However, in this era of new normal, we have learned to do so many things differently. Thus, our inauguration is also going to take place online through the video version of lighting diya.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Okay, so before we get into Maharaj's lecture part, we like to take a few minutes of your time to go through the brief introduction, activities, and initiative of Sevabrata Foundation through an audio-video presentation. Most of us are engaged with many social organization initiatives and activities, and the birth of Sevabrata Foundation also took place while nurturing our passion like that over the last few years. Here goes our brief journey.
Welcome to Sevabrata.
Sevabrata Foundation was born from the conviction that we can bridge the gap between poor patients' need for excellent health care and their getting access to those services.
Inspired by the enduring legacy of Swami Vivekananda, our aim is to leave no stone unturned when it comes to turning around the lives of indigent patients.
We believe that to make any transformation sustainable, it must address the entire chain of self-reliance.
For every individual, we aim to provide funds, help him or her with finding the best doctor, hospital, logistic supports, and guidance during rehabilitation.
Our areas of focus are end-to-end patient treatment, remote health care, and awareness sessions.
We raise funds for the treatment, find appropriate doctors and hospitals, provide guidance and logistic support, post-treatment care up to rehabilitation. We also provide emotional support and counseling.
Here are some of our key projects and activities.
At Sevabrata, our guiding principles are be good and do good, and be and make.
To uphold Swami Vivekananda's ideal, service to man is service to God, and use this opportunity for our inner growth.
To express the natural urge to stand by the unfortunate and poor patients, their families, and let them feel that they are not alone.
Our focus is quality rather than quantity. Namaste.
Thank you. Now, the most important part of this evening, we're going to listen to Maharaj for about 45 minutes, post which we will have an interactive Q&A session for about 30 minutes. It's my absolute privilege and honor to introduce Swami Sarvapriyananda. Although I believe he does not need any introduction, his work, lectures, and endless sessions are known worldwide. He is one of the most respected and popular spiritual and motivational speaker, one of the best lecturers of the Vedanta in the world today. Swami Sarvapriyananda is a current minister in charge and head of the Vedanta Society of New York, a position he has been serving since January 2017. He is an inaugural fellow for 2019-20 at Harvard Divinity School. Prior to this, he served as assistant minister of the Vedanta Society of Southern California for 13 months, beginning December 2015. Rolling back a bit, post his schooling, he had business management degree from Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar. After completing college studies, Maharaj joined Ramakrishna Math Mission in the year 1994 and received sannyasa in the year 2004. He has served Ramakrishna Math Mission in various capacities, including being the vice principal of Dehagar Vidyapith Higher Secondary School, principal of Shiksana Mandir Teacher Education College in Belur Math, and the very first registrar of the Vivekananda University at Belur Math. Before being posted to the Hollywood Temple of Vedanta Society of Southern California, Swamiji served as Acharya of Monastic Probationers Training Center at Belur Math. You must have watched many of his inspiring lectures and speeches in YouTube or other online platforms, as well as in-person sessions or seminars. Today, we are eagerly waiting to hear from him on a very relevant topic of today's era, role of spirituality in a busy life. Thus, without any further delay, I sincerely request Swami Sarvapriyananda Maharaj to take over. Maharaj, please.
Thank you, Sandip. Thank you for having me in this program. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Maharaj.
All right then. Let me start with the chant. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Satchid Sukha Swarupaya Swami Netapaharine. I'm very glad to be part of today's Sevabrata program, and very happy and inspired to know about the activities of Sevabrata. And thanks to Nandinidi and Tirthankada who are present here. They put me in touch with Sevabrata and gave me this opportunity of taking part in today's program. I was just thinking, the philosophy of Sevabrata is the essence of the teaching of Swami Vivekananda. You can put it in two words: service and spirituality. Spirituality and service. This is the essence. If you want to distill Swami Vivekananda down to what is the core message, it's service and spirituality. It is the same thing which Swami Vivekananda gave to our order, the Ramakrishna order, Atmano Mokshartham Jagat Hitaya Cha, for your own enlightenment, for your own liberation, and for the welfare of the world. And if you look back in history, this is the core teaching of spirituality in the world religious traditions also. Thousands of years back in the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of the teaching given by, so thousands of years back, you go back to the Bhagavad Gita, for example. We want to distill the entire message of Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna said to Arjuna, down to its core essential. And what do you get? Mam anusmara yudhyacha. So the essential essence of the Gita would be Mam anusmara yudhyacha. That means contemplate me, keep your mind on me. Krishna is saying to Arjuna, and fight the battle of life. You are in the battlefield of life. You have to fight the battle of life. You notice that same and this spirituality and something else. In the Bible, if you look at Jesus Christ, when his disciples asked him, which are the commandments which are important? In the Jewish religion, there are actually not just 10 commandments. Because of the movie, we know the famous 10 commandments, but there are more than 500 commandments, it seems, major and minor. So naturally, the question is, which is the most important? And Jesus said to his disciples that the most important one is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy might. Love God with all thy heart. And then he added one more, and you all know, love thy neighbor. So these two together, you notice that same and in the Bhagavad Gita, love God, think about God, and do your duty in life, fight the battle of life. And then centuries later, Jesus says to his followers, love God and love thy neighbor. And in today's, he added one more, and you all know, love. What is going on? And when you come down to today's, what the discussion we are having today, you have Atmano Mokshartham Jagat Hitaya Cha, the motto given by Swami Vivekananda to the Ramakrishna order, for your own enlightenment and for the welfare of the world. When you look at Sevabrata, spirituality and service. So the crucial insight, what I want to share from all of this is that and does not mean that there are two things, spirituality and service, loving God and loving your neighbor, your own liberation and the welfare of the world, contemplate me and fight the battle of life. They are actually the same thing. That is the great insight, which it takes time to understand. I remember in Belur Mutt, we used to have this discussion among the monks. What is the meaning of that and? Why not one of the two? Why not just be spiritual, realize God, that's it? And that sounds fine. And that seems to be the message of religion for thousands of years, the essential message of religion. Or just do social service. I remember you just mentioned here, Sandip Babu mentioned that I was doing my MBA in the Xavier Institute of Management in Bhubaneswar many, many years ago. I remember one of the professors, I asked him, he was doing some kind of social upliftment work in a tribal area of Odisha. So I asked him, what do you think of Ramakrishna Mission? Because secretly at that time I was planning to join the Ramakrishna Mission and become a monk after completing my degree. So I asked him, what do you think of Ramakrishna Mission? His reply was interesting. He said, they do good work, but there's this peculiarity. They wear orange dress and some God they keep doing. Now you see, the emphasis is on social service. And he understands that doing good to people is good. Why bring in spirituality, religion? So this and it shows that there's something deeper here, going on here. That's the discussion I used to have. We used to have among monks. I'm sure even now monks are having this discussion. So I remember one incident. I was talking to a friend of mine, a younger monk, very brilliant man. He used to work for Oracle in the United States. He gave up his job and he went back, became a monk. So I was telling him, what really attracted me to monastic life was the spiritual side of it. Atmano mokshartham. By meditation, devotion, by jnana, in all these ways, I will realize God. It is possible. The main thing which attracted Narendranath to Sri Ramakrishna, he would go and ask, have you seen God? Is it possible that God exists and one can experience God? That is the question which interested me very much. That's why I became a monk. And this other monk, my friend, he said, oh, that's why you became a monk. I said, what about you? I said, I came from the opposite direction. I thought I should do something with my life for the welfare of others. In the Ramakrishna mission, there is spirituality, meditation. That's a good thing, add-on benefit. But the main thing is, I will devote my life for the welfare of others, and I don't want anything for myself. Now, next thing was very interesting. I said that over time, I have also understood the importance of that. Over many, many years, I've understood that a private spirituality is no spirituality. That I will realize God, and that's it. That is spiritual. Very soon I realized that, first of all, if you study Vedanta, you will realize that this I, the sense of the limited I which we have got, the first thing in Vedanta is to transcend that. So anything done for the little I, money and pleasure and achievement and success, or spirituality also, moksha, for whom? For this little fellow. Very soon you realize that's not spiritual. You have to expand beyond that. So private spirituality is not much of a spirituality at all. I realized that after some time. And that other monk said, I also realized something, that just doing action for the welfare of others is not enough. After some time, unless it is grounded in something transcendent, something beyond this world, something deeper, unless you do that, it will become very worldly again, and then the self-seeking will come in again. And you see so many places, good NGOs, organizations working for the welfare of others, starts off very nicely. After some time, it becomes seminars, going for award ceremony, and so on and so forth, and the actual fieldwork begins to diminish. One big NGO, this one person said that the person who started it, do you know that person is a very famous person? And somebody who was working in that NGO said, yeah, in the early years, they used to come to the field. Nowadays, they have no time at all. They cannot come. Now, what happens? After some time, unless the person who is doing this seva, unless that person has grown, then there will be an effect on the activities also. So spirituality and service, they cannot be divorced, should not be divorced, and they become the best, the highest philosophy of life. What is your philosophy of life? What is your ideal in life? How do you want to live life? This is the best way of describing it. Spirituality and service. Swami Vivekananda, in one of his poems, said, let all vision cease. That if you want to get liberation, become enlightened, realize your identity with the universal, and that's it, it's finished. Or if you cannot, just now, if it is not possible for you, then what is the best philosophy of living in this world? He says that unconditional love and service without any desire for any return. So service free, he said. Love without any conditions and service free. He says this, if you want to dream, if you want to go on dreaming, dream but better dreams, higher dreams. This is the higher dream. For Swami Vivekananda, spirituality was always practical. He said Vedanta always, from the beginning, Vedanta has first been practical, then only it has become a philosophy and abstraction. But first of all, it was always a practical part of life. Bhagavad Gita. If you look at Bhagavad Gita, where was it taught? In the battlefield, not in an ashram, not in philosophy department, but in the battlefield of life. Who taught it? Not a monk, It was Sri Krishna who taught it, who was in the midst of life himself. Who was the student? Arjuna, not a monastic novice, not in an ashram to a person who's going to become a monk, not like that. But it was somebody in the middle of life, in the fighting the battle of life. The teacher was not a monk, the student was not a monk, the context in which the Gita was taught was not a monastic context, it was in the battlefield of life. Why sometimes spirituality seems to be a specialized endeavor only for monks, ascetics, or maybe scholars, pandits, is because some of the greatest teachers of spirituality in different world religions have been monks. Among the rishis, some were householders, some were sannyasis. Bhagavan Buddha himself was a sannyasi. Mahavira in the Jaina tradition was a sannyasi, and all of the disciples were main disciples were monks, and they spread the religion. Jesus Christ himself was a monk. Shankaracharya himself was a monk. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so on. And so that is why one tends to get the feeling that this is just for some specialized people, not for others. You will often see in the Kathamrita also, and also today when people come and ask about spiritual life, is it important, is it necessary to become a monk to be spiritual? So specialists like monks or scholars are necessary. For example, in any industry, suppose computer science, you need computer scientists, you need computer engineers, but computers are not meant just for scientists and engineers. Computers are meant for everybody. We are using it also. So that in that way, spirituality is actually, though it might have been spread by specialists, but spirituality is actually meant for the masses, for everybody. Especially in this day and age, Swami Vivekananda taught it for the masses. He said the Vedanta, which has been so far confined to the forests, to the ashrams of monks, forest caves, I will bring it out and spread it in the cities. Boner Vedanta Sharini as well. I'll bring the Vedanta of the forests to the cities of the world. That means make it a mass movement. Spirituality, the highest spirituality, is for the masses also. The idea so far was that religion for the masses is, so there'll be some kind of ritualism. Some little part of life will be devoted to some religion, going to a temple or a church or a mosque, and that's it. And the rest is my secular life. Swami Vivekananda's teaching, he bridged this gap, or he erased this gap between our so-called secular life and spiritual life. As Sister Nivedita said, henceforth, no difference between the sacred and the secular. No difference means not the secularization of the sacred, but rather the sacralization of the secular. Everything becomes sacred now. The spirituality spreads all over life. Swami Vivekananda's definition of religion, if you consider it, very well-known definition, which we are all familiar with. Religion is the manifestation of the divinity already within us. Now, I used to think that, look at the words, the manifestation of the divinity already within us. He did not say the knowledge of the divinity within us. He did not even say, getting visions or getting a realization of the divinity within us, manifestation of the divinity within us. And he himself expands on this further. He says, Swami Vivekananda says that my mission in life can be put in a few words. It is to teach unto humanity their inner divinity and how to make it manifest in every movement of life. So, not just manifest in meditation or samadhi, but in every movement of life, in our speech, in our activities at home, in the community, in our thought, in every movement of life, that divinity which you realize in your spiritual life, it should be manifested. It is only when you get a subject like this, that spirituality in the middle of a busy life, you begin to see that Swami Vivekananda had truly come in this age, not for just a group of monks or devotees. He had come for the entire world. Even if people are not devotees, even if people have no interest in spirituality, the teachings of Vivekananda can be of great help to them. And I see it all the time. People who are, they are not Hindus, maybe they are not even, they do not believe in Christianity or Judaism or any other religion, maybe atheists, but still they find something in Vivekananda which can illumine their lives and give them peace and meaning and purpose in life. So manifestation of the divinity already within us. Now, when I look at Vivekananda's teachings, I see that his emphasis on karma yoga, this is extraordinary. You know, he talked about the way of knowledge, jnana yoga, the way of meditation, raja yoga, the way of devotion, bhakti yoga, and the way of action, karma yoga. But we all know that he emphasized karma yoga above all. He is the great teacher of karma. Sister Nivedita says, this makes Vivekananda the great teacher of karma, not as divorced from bhakti or jnana, but as an expression, manifestation of bhakti and jnana. The service is a manifestation of spirituality, not two different things. Love thy neighbor is the manifestation of the love of God. Yudhyacha, doing your duty in life, action in the middle of the battlefield of life, is a manifestation of our inner spirituality. This Jagat Hitaya is, when you live that Atmano Mokshartham, that spiritual insight, when you live it in life, it becomes Jagat Hitaya. Karma Yoga occupies a special place in the teaching of Swami Vivekananda, and it is specially suited to people in the midst of a busy life. We have many problems in life, many struggles in life. The philosophy which most suits you is Karma Yoga. Basically, the idea behind Karma Yoga is that to spiritualize all our actions. Certain actions we all understand, it's spirituality. I remember when I first became a monk as a brahmachari in Deoghar, I was telling one senior Swami that, you know, when I type a letter, when I go and teach in the classroom, I like all that, the work done in the office, in the classroom, in the school and all that, I like it. But I don't feel that it is particularly spiritual. It seems like ordinary work. Whereas then that monk said, then what do you think? What do you feel is spiritual? I said, when I go to the temple, when I worship, do the puja, or I do japa and dhyana, or I sing Khandana Bhava Bandhana, and that is spiritual. That monk smiled and he said, in Bengali, I will translate, he said, Ki jani, ami to jokhon ekta chithi likhi, ami mone kori dhyan korchi bole. I don't know, when I write a letter, I feel I am meditating. I thought he was exaggerating, but later I understood it's right. You get the same spiritual elevation depending on the attitude. One must have a spiritual attitude. It's not just anybody who's writing a letter will become spiritual. I know another monk, I'm reminded of this, who was a great meditator. We used to look up to him as early morning and evening. He would sit for hours and hours, ramrod straight in deep meditation, absolutely still. Now, the Swami in charge of the ashram, in the evening, when it was his meditation hour, the Swami told this monk that from now on, you have to go to the school and supervise the study of the students. So his meditation hour now, instead of meditation, he will have to go and supervise the study of the students. So instead of dhyana, he has to do karma. And one day he told me, I thought he would be annoyed. One day he told me, he said, you know, I get the same elevation, spiritual elevation, when I'm there working with the students, the same thing I used to get in the temple sitting and meditating. I thought he was exaggerating at that time, but then later I understood it is possible. So this is the idea of karma yoga. Can I convert my ordinary secular activities, like typing a letter, like supervising the study of the children, and like serving in a hospital and treating patients, all these activities, can I convert it into spiritual practice? The need is urgent. Why? The very fact that you have a busy life, it means the time and energy left over for spiritual practices as such, meditation, study, ritualistic worship. How much time do you have? Very little time. How much opportunity do you have? Very little opportunity. So energy. At the end of the day, how much is left? The demands of the world are so strong for earning your living, for taking care of your family, for doing your duties in the community. They are so heavy and strong that it absorbs most of the time and energy in a day. Unless that activity can be spiritualized, spirituality will always be a losing game. It will always get the lesser share of your time and energy, and it will diminish, it will become smaller and smaller. 10 minutes in the morning, little japa and dhyana, 10 minutes in the evening, little japa, maybe 2 pages of gospel, kathamrita I will read. That's the only spirituality left in my life, because my whole life is a struggle to do what I'm doing in life. So the great, the extraordinary power of karma yoga lies here, that whatever I'm doing in day-to-day life, that also can become spirituality. And the formula was given by Sri Ramakrishna. We know the story when Sri Ramakrishna said, Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva, not Jiva Daya, not compassion to human beings. That was the ideal taught in religions, in Buddhism, in Christianity, in Vaishnavism, compassion to sentient beings, which is a great ideal. So, Sri Ramakrishna took it to a different level. So he said, not compassion. Who are you to show compassion? The Lord himself is present in all living beings. See the Lord, see God in all living beings and serve them. Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. Then the service will become the worship of God. And this formula, Narendranath Datta, he heard this. Everybody heard it, whoever was present there. But Narendranath Datta, he said, I learned a great thing, and if by the grace of God, if I get the chance, I will spread it all over the world. Why spread it all over the world? This is what the world needs in the present age. This is the doorway to spirituality in a busy life. How can I convert my activities into worship? Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. By seeing Shiva in all beings, you worship Shiva through service. Somebody might say, yes, Sevabrata is doing service, but all of us cannot do that. We have a job, and there I'm earning money, I'm running a business, I'm making profits, and so on. So I have a practice. I charge patients for my treatment. How can I convert that into spiritual practice? You can. There is nothing to say that when you do some work, you will get the results. When Arjuna is fighting the battle in Kurukshetra, he will get the result. If he wins the battle, he will get the kingdom. But what Krishna is telling him is that you change your inner attitude, that God has put me in this situation. This is the family around me, father, mother, husband, wife, children, grandchildren. This is the community around me. What can I do for them? It's the essence of spiritual life. Swami Ranganathanji, I really liked it. He used to say again and again, what is spirituality? When I close my eyes, I find peace within. When I open my eyes, my attitude is, what can I do for you? So this, you see, spirituality and service, peace within, and what can I do for you? Atmano mokshartham jagat hitaya cha. And the two are the same thing. How do you do that? So whatever my activities, internally, my attitude is, I am worshipping God through this. So you may actually be doing a job and earning your salary. There's nothing wrong in that. You have to maintain yourself. You have to maintain your family. That is part of the dharma of a householder. So there's nothing wrong with that, but that can also be converted into spiritual practice, to karma yoga. Karma can be converted into karma yoga if the attitude changes internally. What is this internal shift? Till now, I was doing it by earning money, by rising high in my job, by becoming a reputed practitioner in my profession, I will find fulfillment. So this is a selfish way of looking at things. I'm bringing everything, money, appreciation, pleasure, praise, accomplishments, awards, all for myself. Why? Then I will be happy. But I realized very soon, this is not the way to become happy. And there is, till today, nobody can claim by selfish activity, trying very hard to please myself, I have attained some kind of lasting and deep happiness. Nobody has done it. But there are people who have become deeply happy. The more people do for others. Swami Vivekananda says that unselfishness is more paying than selfishness, but it takes maturity to understand this. It can make you more happy, but it takes maturity to understand this. Converting our activities into worship. This letter I am typing, I do that, and mentally I say Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. This patient I am treating, I do that, and mentally I worship. I have offered it to the Lord, just like offering a flower. And Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Like this, I have a series of activities, series of worship of God throughout the day. I have shared this story so many times, and people may have heard this again and again, but I remember it's a very cute story. I was passing through Lucknow airport many years ago, and it was night. I was a transit passenger, and there were no other transit passengers. So when I went through the security check, the security people at Lucknow airport, the CISF, Central Industrial Security Force people, one sergeant was there, big man with the mustache and all. He said, Swamiji, kuch bataiye, please give us a talk. I thought, here. I said, here in the middle of nowhere, I have to give a talk. He said, yes, tell us something. And he called the other security persons, and I had to give a talk. I was thinking, what will I say to them? I said to this gentleman, this officer, do you do any puja before you leave home? And he said, हाँ जी, हनुमान जी को फूल चढ़ाते हैं. I put flowers at the feet of Lord Hanuman before I leave home. Then I said, then throughout the day, when you are working here, as the passengers go past in front of you, you do your job politely, sincerely, with focus. And as each passenger you check and pass, mentally offer one more flower at the feet of Lord Hanuman. Another passenger, do the same job, offer one more flower at the feet of Lord Hanuman, mentally. That gentleman was very simple and sincere. He was very delighted. I still remember, he smiled, big smile, and he said, Arey wah, din bhar Hanuman ji ka puja. Wonderful. Whole day I'll be worshipping Lord Hanuman. So yes, whole day you can worship your Krishna, Lord Hanuman, Sri Ramakrishna. This continuous worship, it can be done. You may not remember it also. At the middle of the work, your mind is given to the work, you may not remember. At least at the beginning of the work, at the end of the work, you offer it to the Lord. And more important, we make up our mind, this inner shift from trying to gratify myself by all these activities to making my whole life as a worship of God. Why should I make my life a worship of God? Because I define myself as a spiritual seeker. What is my goal in life? Atmano mokshartham. My goal in life is enlightenment, liberation, and the worship of God in all living beings. So I redefine myself as a spiritual seeker. Because I'm a spiritual seeker, I must do spiritual practices. And because I must do spiritual practices, how to convert my daily activities. It could be in the kitchen, it could be in the office, it could be flying in an aeroplane, it could be driving your car. Whatever you are doing, it can be actually converted into a worship of God. Look at another advantage of this approach. Many people, this the idea I got from Swami Ashokanandaji in one talk. He says, many people always complain when we do japa and dhyana, when we try to meditate, the mind is not fixed. Mind does not get fixed on God. It's difficult to fix the mind on God. Not just us. Arjuna had the same problem. He asked Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, when Krishna taught him meditation, Arjuna said, very good, but none of this will work. It is not practical. Mind is very difficult to control. It is true, mind is very difficult to control. Meditation is an advanced practice. But one easy way of controlling the mind is through service. When you are taking care of a sick person, you never complain, I can't focus. The sick person will make your mind focus. When you are teaching children in a classroom, you don't complain. The teacher doesn't complain, my mind has gone elsewhere. You cannot. The children will make you focus on your job in the classroom. So, one advantage of Karma Yoga is that your mind and energies are automatically focused on the task. The world will make you focus. The people you are working with, they will make you focus. The job will make you focus. So internally, one just has to change the attitude towards the job. The attitude will be, I am worshipping God in all of these forms. Another advantage, when we, in other spiritual practices, whether in Vedanta, in Jnana Yoga, or in Bhakti Yoga, or in meditation, for a long time, it still seems to be like an imagination of the mind. Where is God? God seems to be hidden. But in this practice of Karma Yoga, in this practice of spiritualizing all our activities, God is not hidden. Swami Ashokanji says, where is God not there? Your question earlier was, where is God? Now the question will be, where is God not there? I mean, God is everywhere. From a Vedantic perspective, every living being through which consciousness is manifesting, the divinity is present there. In every human being, in every other non-human, every sentient being, consciousness is manifesting. Here is the visible God, the 1,000 heads and 1,000 hands and feet all around you. So where is God not there? God is everywhere. That's another advantage of Karma Yoga. Now, one more ingredient. It is easier to do this, spiritualizing all activities, if love is there. Bhakti is a very great help in spiritualizing our life, if devotion is there. Somebody was saying that it's difficult to do unselfish action. I am doing action for the sake of others. I don't want anything for myself. That's actually a pretty high attitude to take. One may say that I still cannot be so unselfish. I cannot be so selfless. Well, then bhakti helps here. We always like to do things for people, or for something that we love, for a cause which we love. I'm sure that many of the doctors who are working for Sevabrata, it's out of love for the cause of Sevabrata that they are giving the time and energy and skill. So when we love something, we are willing to sacrifice for it. So when you bring love into the equation, so Ramakrishna put it in his very homely way, that sometimes this dry hay, if you give it to straw, if you give it to the cows, they will not eat. But you mix a little bit of this oil cake with it and it becomes delicious. The cows will eat it up faster. Similarly, you bring in this little ingredient of love into it, that I love my Lord, the Lord who is present in the hearts. Oh, you cannot hear me clearly? Is there a disturbance in the sound? Somebody is saying we are not able to hear clearly.
It's perfectly fine, Maharaj.
Or maybe that might be the problem in somebody, but some local problem.
Yes.
So, so love, the ingredient of love, helps in Karma Yoga. That's where an Ishta Devata is important. So if I conceive of God in the form of Krishna or Ramakrishna, then I can feel my beloved Ramakrishna is present not only in my shrine, where I worship with so much purity and devotion, with mantras and flower and waters every day, but also in the hearts of everybody. That same beloved Ramakrishna is present in the hearts of everybody. Now automatically there will be love. It does not matter who the person is or how the person behaves towards me. I know that the Lord is present in the heart of that person. My worship is to the Lord, not to the individual personality. The personality of the person will not matter so much. That's why spiritually advanced persons, I've seen senior monks, they have a general love for everybody. They're generally the well-wisher of everybody. It does not matter so much how you behave with them. That person has an unconditional love for you. That's because they are seeing God in the heart of everybody. They have this deep feeling of the presence of God in the hearts of all beings. Then Karma Yoga becomes even nicer. Somebody said, how can we keep our mind on God when we are working? Our mind is given to the work. Whether in any profession, you need to concentrate on the work. Then how can you keep your mind on God? The answer is, it's not so much the mind as the heart. Your heart is given to God. And where your heart is, mind will also follow. So one example is, When parents, a mother takes care of a little child. Now she may be doing many things throughout the day, cleaning the house, cooking food, washing clothes, so many things she is doing, but all of it is she doing for the beloved child. So the heart is with the child, and all this work is done for the child. And during the working, she may not actually be thinking about the child, but in between the work, before the work is started, after the work is finished, the mind automatically runs to the child because she loves, the heart is with the child. So when our heart is given to God, in the midst of all work, we may concentrate on the work, but we know we are doing it for God. And when the work is over, automatically the mind will run to God. Sri Ramakrishna gave the example of a compass needle. It's a very good example. A compass needle, if you twirl it around, it will go round and round, but after some time, it will again point in the north-south direction, the magnetic North Pole and South Pole. And again, you swing it around, it whirls around, comes back again. Similarly, a mind whose heart is given to God, it may whirl around in the world under the pressure of work, but the moment you let it go, it will again turn back towards God. It's a good example there. That will work only if bhakti is there, devotion to God. And ultimately, of course, we must also keep some time aside where there will be no activity, no connection with the world, just retreat into the silence of your being. As Swami Ranganathanji said, when I close my eyes, I find peace within. Those of you, many of us are initiated with the mantra and Ishta Devata. So sometime, even in the busiest life, in the morning and evening, even if for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sit down and cut off the world. Even the most busiest person, even the most beloved people around you, cut it off, nobody. Then forget the presence of the physical body also. Forget all other thoughts. Put no admittance on your heart. Only God and you. Repeat the mantra, visualize the form of the Ishta Devata, morning and evening. Very important, especially in the middle of a busy life. I remember reading Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King who was in America, but 400, 500 years ago, Martin Luther was the great Protestant reformer who started the entire Protestant movement in Christianity. So he writes in one place that every day, morning and evening, I go down on my knees, like the Christians pray, or getting down on the knees and praying to God. I pray for 1 hour. I pray to God. The day I have too much work, I have no time at all. The day I have too much work, I pray 1 hour extra. I pray 1 hour more when I have more work. So meditation actually helps us a great deal in the midst of a busy life. And one more thing I must add, all of this finally is ultimately it is in that one consciousness, one awareness that the world is appearing. All the people whom you are serving, they are appearing in that one consciousness. Your own body is appearing in that one consciousness. Your own thoughts are appearing in that one consciousness. World, people, body, thoughts, they appear, they play around in consciousness, they again disappear back into that consciousness. You are that consciousness. We are that one consciousness in all beings. We are not just little, Sarvapriyananda and Sandip and Tirthankar and Nandini. We are not just little beings. We are that one absolute consciousness, not a matter of belief, not a matter of philosophical speculation. An absolute fact right now. Little bit of study of Vedanta, very soon it will reveal to us, it is a fact right now. What else is there? It is an appearance to consciousness. That's all. An appearance of the world, people, body, mind, in consciousness, to consciousness, not different from consciousness. The entire world that we see is an appearance of consciousness. It does not exist separately. It does not exist independently. The more we turn inwards, the better we are able to serve others. The more spiritual we are, the more of service we can be. One sadhu, Hindi speaking sadhu from Uttarakhand, he said very nicely, ये जो दुनिया है ना, ये अपने दिल में परमात्मा जो है उसका परछाई है. This world which you see is nothing but the shadow of God who is in your heart. The more you go out into the world, the more you are chasing shadows. The reality is within. The more you serve, the more you meditate, the more you become steady in the divinity within, the better, the closer you are to God. So in all these ways, especially the foundation is Karma Yoga, spiritualization of all our daily activities, helped by infusion of bhakti and by regular meditation morning and evening, and by the knowledge that ultimately it is one consciousness in which the drama of the universe is being played out, drama of the world and my personal life are being played out. I am that consciousness, not this little body mind. With this harmony of the four yogas, spiritualization of daily life becomes not only possible, it becomes the best possible philosophy of living your life. Really, if you want to be happy from today onwards, from now onwards, then these principles that you get from the four yogas, selflessness, not for this body mind, for everybody else first. Love, not desire, not 100 things I want in this life outside. No, collect that desire and focus it towards God in the heart and in all beings. Bhakti, second principle. Third, focus, concentration, calmness, much better than scattered mind. Focus better than distraction. Third principle we get from Raja Yoga. And first and finally from Jnana Yoga, most important, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that one absolute consciousness. Right now, always was, is, will be. Entirety of what we are experiencing now, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is an appearance in that consciousness. From that perspective, it is all right. You're always safe. Always you're safe from the ups and downs of life. So this is how one can spiritualize life itself in the midst of the busiest possible life. I think we should take questions now. I've run out of time. Sandip Babu? So should we take questions now? Is Sandip Babu there?
Yes, can you hear me, Maharaj, now?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry for that. I was trying to unmute myself and it was not working. Okay, so yeah, we are going to have questions now. So
should I read it out? The questions which are in the chat?
I have the questions. So
okay.
Very first questions actually came via email, and that's why I'm reading out that first. So right. That was a question from Snehalata Chawla, but the name came as Sakshi. There are 6 questions, in fact. So I will read those out. You can take it. Let me read out the questions first. What is spirituality? Is second question, is Guru living must? Third, what do you do when you are totally free and not inclined towards Niksham Seva? Fourth, how to know whether you have found your true destined Guru or path? Fifth, with so much money required for running ashrama, etc., devotees may feel differentiated when special attention is given to those who donate more. And the last one is, what is encompasses what all encompasses Niksham Seva? So first
what
one
all
is
what all encompasses what Seva?
Niskam Seva.
Niskam Seva. So what is spirituality? Best definition I found is what I mentioned, Swami Ranganathanandaji's definition. What is spirituality? When I close my eyes, I find peace within. When I open my eyes, my attitude is, what can I do for you? The best definition of spirituality is being centered in God within and living a life of service for others. Second question was?
is guru living must?
That means a living guru. One takes mantra diksha from the guru, but ultimately, like everybody else, the physical form of the guru will one day pass away. Remember, guru is none other than Satchidananda. God alone is the guru, acting through human gurus. So in that sense, your guru is always living, because God is always living. God does not die. It's only the physical form of the human guru which passes away. Then the third one was,
what to do when you are totally free and not inclined towards Niksham Seva?
right. So you can see such a variety is there in spiritual life. You can engage yourself in Vedantic study. You can engage yourself in japa, repeating the mantra. You can engage yourself in ritualistic worship, in chanting. You can engage yourself in devotional music. Either you sing or chant, or you listen to so many wonderful songs. And nowadays, because of internet, everything is available. So in 100 different ways, the one thing that one needs to do is connect oneself to God. If you don't believe in God also, at least remain centered in the consciousness within, in the self within. So in whichever way you do, so many ways are available. And if you can engage yourself in doing something for others, that's the best way to be engaged in the service of God. Then the next one was?
How to know whether you have found true destined guru or path?
Yes. You may seek. Either it may be a part of a tradition of your family or locality or community, that might be good, or you may seek yourself. Nowadays, many people seek, and what they like, what feels appropriate to them. But I'll just say one thing. After seeking for some time, one must commit. I see one thing which has become common these days is a kind of window shopping. I go a little bit of Vipassana meditation, then a little bit of yoga, then a little bit of, kirtan, then a little bit of Vedantic study and a little bit of Buddhism. After one time, one must commit to one tradition, one place. What happens is this becomes a trick of the mind. And this is not good enough. Let me try another one. That is not good enough. These are all good. They have been able to take thousands of people to enlightenment for thousands of years. Each of the major religions of the world, they have benefited millions of people throughout the ages. Who am I, the great fellow, that none of them are good for me? I have to keep on searching. At one point, pick up something which you feel attracted towards and commit to it. Now, there are some principles of picking up something. What you can apply these principles given by Swami Vivekananda. One place he says, that which leads to selflessness, unselfishness, that is truth. That which makes you more selfish, reject that as false. That which makes you strong, take it as truth. That makes you weak, reject as poison. That which unites, you can take it as the truth. That which divides you, you reject that or you avoid that. Notice these things. These are principles. Some teaching, it is harmonizing, uniting. That's a good thing. It's a good sign. In some place you might find something good, but you're told that everybody else is wrong, everybody else is bad, only this one, never listen to anybody else, narrow. That is not a good sign. There may be some genuine spirituality there, but still it's not a good sign. Another one is which makes you weak. Somebody said, a friend of mine is going to this particular guru. Oh, it's wonderful. He keeps on talking. Is he becoming more and more dependent on the guru, or more and more independent and strong? You see, more and more dependent and helpless, bad sign. Weakness is a bad sign. Strength is a good sign. If it makes you strong and stand on your own feet, it's a good teaching. So these are good indicators. How will I select one path and one teacher? Is it giving you strength? Is it leading you towards unselfishness? Is it making you, taking you towards unity, not difference? So these are some ways of selecting. And the question was about some devotees are preferred, some are not preferred. My attitude always would be, when I was a young student, also a devotee in the ashram, I did not see all those things. One should not really care about those things. Yes, from the side of the ashram, we should be careful to treat everybody equally. Otherwise, people are hurt, they feel hurt. and we generally do try. But some differences are automatically possible. I mean, it happens. Did not Swami Vivekananda have special love and regard for Maharaja of Khetri? Now Raja Ajit Singh. So somebody will say Swami Vivekananda was partial to him. No, Swami Vivekananda even loved the beggar and the mendicant also. Those who were helpless and poor, he loved them absolutely intensely, the same way as the Maharaja. But the Maharaja is Maharaja. So it might feel from a distance that he is getting preferential treatment. So the President of India visits Belur Math. He is taken around by a senior monk to the different temples. Now, if I visit Belur Math, why the senior monk will not come and take me around to the different temples? No, the world does not function that way. One should not at all see it in that sense. One should not, like go there and keep finding what is the fault here. What can I get from it? In spiritual life also, be like some enlightened selfishness is necessary. I remember one young man came to join in Belur Math, and one senior Swami was our teacher, very senior Swami, and we were brahmacharis. So that senior Swami knew this young man. So the young man who came to join in Belur Math as a brahmachari, after 3 days, he came to that senior Swami and said, Maharaj, it is not good here, better to go away from here. Then that Swami told that young man that you are right, it's better for you to go away. I have been here for 30 years, I have not found any fault here. In 3 days, you have found what is wrong here, so better for you to go away. So we should not have that attitude. I am here, Sri Ramakrishna here, Swami Vivekananda, Ma Sharada is here. I'm looking at them. My relationship is with them. To the best of my attitude, I will focus on them and serve them in all possible ways. I really don't have much to do with what others are doing. Then yes, can we go on to other questions from others?
So I'll pick up the very first question here in this chat window. It came from Vishwajit Mandal. Pranam Maharaj, you said private spirituality is not that much effective. Then being in family life, can't one embrace spirituality to that extent, like in a monastery? Contrarily, if one leave his family and join monastic life, how effective or ethical will be his actions to reach spiritual goal?
Oh, I did not mean that by private spirituality. By private spirituality, what I meant was, I will do my japa and dhyana, and I don't care about anybody else. I will do my own study, Vedantic study, and realize I am Aham Brahmasmi. I don't care about others. Let them do what they want. That is private spirituality. Only for I and myself. No, in the midst of the family, in the midst of your job, you can be spiritual. So you can convert your activities in your job, you convert your actions and responsibilities in the family into spiritual practice. Then it will not be a private spirituality. Otherwise, if you try to cut out others from your spiritual life, then your spiritual life will be very small and narrow. One may start there. I started like that. I started that I will realize God and become enlightened. Vivekananda saw God, I will also see God. Fine, I'll be very happy then. That's it. No more. What do I care about the rest of the world? But then the rest of the world is not separate from me. That spirituality which I was seeking, that actually depends on an expansion beyond this little body. Whether in Vedanta or in Bhakti, and of course in Karma Yoga, one must consider something more than this body. So then the question of others comes in, and and in the family life, in the job, it's even more easy. If you cut everybody away and go and sit in a cave, then this really becomes private spirituality. Swami Vivekananda, let me give that quote from Swami Vivekananda. Sorry. He said, if you run away from life to meditate and die in a Himalayan cave, you have missed the way. If you plunge into the vanities and luxuries of life, you have missed the way. If you run away from life, you have missed the way. If you plunge into life, you have missed the way. Then what is the way? He says the way is to deify everything and everybody. Wherever you are, to see God in everybody and to relate to people like that, to convert your actions into service of God, into worship of God. That is the way out. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. So next question comes from Dr. Arunangshu Bishwas. He sent an email as well as posted here in this chat, and he conveyed his regards to you. How could we apply Vedanta philosophy to focus our life in one direction during this hectic materialistic world?
It requires one to decide, who am I? What is my purpose in life? One is our default setting, that I will get an education, I will get a job, I will get married and have children. And why? I'm not thinking why, everybody is doing it, so I will do it. Or I will consciously decide that I am a spiritual seeker. I am a sadhak. My aim is God realization. I may be a monk, I may be a householder, I may be a doctor, like a business manager or a teacher, whatever I may be in the external world. Internally, my attitude is, my goal is God realization. Once I have decided that, then I have to see how I can convert my daily activities into spiritual practice. Then it becomes one-pointed. So to become one-pointed, one must first decide one's goal. It should not be 100 different things. I have to be a millionaire. I have to be a father, grandfather to so many children, and I have to be a political leader, and also I have to realize God. No, all those other things, family matters, professional matters, political matters, whatever it is, they all have to be around the central core. I am seeking God. Let me give the example which I like. Mahatma Gandhi was, in his autobiography, he writes, when people ask who I am, people think that I am a freedom fighter. Some people say I am a politician. Some say I'm a social reformer. But if you ask me, who are you? I will reply that I am a simple man in search of God. I am a simple man in search of God. Now you see, he is all that. He is a family man. He was a lawyer at one time. He is a politician. He is a freedom fighter. He is certainly a social reformer. He is a prolific writer. His complete works run to nearly 100 volumes, 98 volumes. So much tremendous activity. But his simple definition is, I am a simple man in search of God. So all those activities, it may be seeming to go in 100 different directions. They are all actually in one direction. For him, they are all sadhana, taking him towards God realization. So we make up our mind. Another story, interesting story of Mahatma Gandhi, I remember, Swami Shivanandaji. He was in Belur Math, president of the Ramakrishna Mission. Now, what happened was, one gentleman came. At that time, Mahatma Gandhi was carrying on his agitation against the British for freedom of India. So one gentleman, devotee who is to visit Belur Math, is close to Mahapurush Maharaj. One day he was saying to Mahapurush Maharaj, who was at that time the president of Belur Math, of Ramakrishna Mission. So this gentleman said, at this time when the young people, they have to study and take care of their career and family, this Mahatma Ji, what he is doing, he is ruining their life. They are running away from college and joining his agitation for, what is this nonsense about political activity against the British? So Mahapurush Maharaj kept quiet, did not say anything. Few days later, again the gentleman had come. One young man had come to become a monk. So he bowed down to Mahapurush Maharaj. Mahapurush Maharaj blessed him and sent him to the monastery to join, to become a monk. Then the gentleman started again. Maharaj, is this right? This young man, at this time when Mahatma Gandhi is agitating for the freedom of India against the British, it's such a great responsibility is there upon the youth of this nation. Is it right that he should run away from his responsibility and become a monk? He should join Mahatma Gandhi's agitation for freedom of India. Then Mahapurush Maharaj said, see, Mahatma Gandhi, in the midst of all his activities, political activities and all, I am sure he is at peace. And this young man, he has come, he is going to give up Kam Kanchana, he is going to give up all worldly ambitions, concentrate his mind on Thakur, serve Thakur to the best of his ability and attain peace in this life. The only one I see without any peace is you. So, you mean that gentleman. So what his meaning was, unless one commits to some ideal, one will not get peace of mind. So some ideal must be there, which will give us one pointed. Then we can move one pointed in one direction. Yes.
So before I go to the next question, I'll also request our YouTube live viewers, if you have any question, you can type on the YouTube chat. And at the same time, my sincere apology to everyone watching us on YouTube live. There was an issue which stopped the YouTube live streaming when we started the session. So the initial introductory part was missed on YouTube live. But we are back on YouTube live as soon as Maharaj started, and that's where I realized the mistake. So my sincere apology for that. We'll share the recorded version of the entire session on YouTube as well later. So Sangamitra, you please keep an eye on YouTube live questions. The next question comes from Durga Prasad ji, who says, Namaste, Namaste Swamiji. Sri Ramakrishna Swamiji and some other direct disciples taught that Karma Yoga by itself can also lead to self-knowledge when the mind gets thoroughly purified through the constant practice of Niskama Karma Yoga. However, it is often regarded only as a preparatory discipline for qualifying one for Jnana Yoga by the followers of Vedanta. Are they referring to different levels of purity of mind?
It's a good question, Durga Prasad ji. Yes. Let me start with the second part of the question first. The traditional approach to Vedanta, whether it is in Advaita Vedanta, Adi Shankaracharya, or Vishishtadvaita, or Dvaita Vedanta of Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and so on, all of these approaches, remember, they all accepted karma. They said karma, action is important. And action includes both Vaidika and Laukika. That means religious rituals as well as our daily activities, our daily duties. All of that is karma. And it has an important role in spiritual life. What is the role? The role is twofold. First of all, moral and ethical life, dharmic karma. It may be selfish. It may be for the purpose of artha and kama, but it should be within the limits of morality. It should not go exceed, it should not become something that is indecent, immoral, or even illegal. That should not happen. So there is a limit, a Lakshman Rekha is there. That is the foundation of spiritual life. Spirituality without morality is not possible. One may be a good person without being particularly spiritual, but one cannot be a spiritual person without being first a good person. So that's the first thing that karma does for us. Moral action, ethical action. The second thing is that even deeper, higher, not only moral and ethical action, but also selfless action. Because moral action can also be selfish. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm not doing anything bad. I am only doing what is necessary, what I have to do in my, my life to support the family and so on. But still it is for a selfish purpose, but it is moral. But one can also go beyond that. So the activities when you do in the Sevabrata, for example, there you do not seek anything in return. You are giving high quality medical care for large number of people who would not get it without your efforts. And you're not asking for anything in return from them. So it is a selfless action, nishkama karma. And it's a powerful purifying effect on the mind. Why nishkama karma is purifying? See, one powerful way of, one reason why I have impurity is our actions are generally selfish. So when we work, when we do something, it is for this little person or those who are related to this body. And that tightens the ignorance which ties us to this body mind. The whole of Vedanta is what? I am not the body, not the mind. But selfish action says what? I am the body and the mind. So they are pulling in different directions. That's why action has to first become unselfish. It should move in the same direction as Vedantic knowledge. So that's why action is said to be purifying. It removes the selfishness which is very inherent to us. And that is the role given by traditional Vedanta. Now Ramanuja will say, or Madhvacharya will say, higher than this is knowledge. You must realize I am not the body and mind. I am the sentient being, the Jivatma. And then higher than that is bhakti. The Jivatma will have devotion, bhakti to Paramatma, because that is the paradigm of Vishishtadvaita. The ultimate reality is Brahman or Saguna Brahman, which is the one reality of this universe. And is all of us, we are parts of that ultimate reality. So what is our connection with that ultimate reality? It should be bhakti. Only bhakti will lead you to freedom in the path of Vishishtadvaita or Dvaita Vedanta also. In Advaita Vedanta, it is reversed. Karma is first, and then bhakti and upasana will help in concentrating the mind, the purified and concentrated mind, through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana of the Upanishads, of the Vedantic truth, will realize Aham Brahmasmi, a radical identity of yourself with the absolute reality. Now, so this is the traditional framework. Karma Yoga is very important, and it is foundational, it is preparatory, but that much only. Can karma lead to enlightenment and freedom? In Advaita Vedanta, they will say no, not like that. Only through knowledge. Jnana deva kaivalyam. Through knowledge alone, one attains to the final liberation. Here, as Durga Prasad ji has said, Swami Vivekananda clearly says that karma itself, nishkama karma, has such a purificatory effect that ultimately, when the selfishness of the heart is gone, the reality within will manifest itself. You see, even advanced Advaita practitioners, they know the real problem is not reading many books of Advaita Vedanta, getting very subtle instruction about how I am not the body mind, I am pure consciousness. After understanding all of that, one will feel I am still stuck. Everybody, I've seen so many will complain that I have understood what you are saying. I have understood what Vedanta is saying, but it is not a living reality for me. I cannot live in that way. I cannot manifest that understanding. What is blocking me? It is the selfishness of the impurity of the mind, which is not allowing me to express that knowledge, not allowing me to live that knowledge. So that knowledge is very easy to attain from Vedanta, but very difficult to manifest in one's life. To convert it into full-fledged realization, one requires purity of mind. And that is accomplished through Karma Yoga. Even traditional Vedanta understands this. Swami Vivekananda says, I know where the shoe pinches. The real problem is not the lack of Vedantic knowledge. The real problem is the purification of the mind. But yes, there is a distinction between the traditional structure, where it is karma, bhakti, jnana, or karma, jnana, bhakti, depending on the Vedanta school. And Swami Vivekananda very clearly saying that nishkama karma, pursued to its logical conclusion, can directly lead to enlightenment. But if you see Swami Vivekananda also, what is his final recommendation? His final recommendation is the harmony of the four yogas. There must be Jnana Yoga, there must be Bhakti Yoga, there must be Karma Yoga, and there must be meditation, Raja Yoga also.
So I'll take the next question from one of our core members, and that too from Singapore. It comes from Krishna. He has a question that, how do I find my purpose of life?
How do I find my purpose of life? In one sense, your purpose of life, you already found it. You have to recognize it. What is my purpose of life? I want happiness. That is like our, they say in machines, factory setting. From our very beginning, we are creatures in search of happiness. Yesterday, I was saying, happiness itself is not the goal. We seek meaning in life. That's a very shallow way of understanding. That meaning in life also gives us happiness. You see, you should take happiness in a broadest possible sense. That meaning, when you find meaning in life, does it make you unhappy or happy? Makes you happy. Ultimately, happiness is what we are seeking through pleasures, through activities, and through finding some higher meaning in life. Now the question is, this happiness we are seeking, we must all admit. How will you find this happiness? You see yourself. What is it that pulls me? By pleasure will I find happiness. By earning a lot of money will I find that lasting happiness. And with little bit of thinking will show it's not possible. So many people in this world that whole the very philosophy of this city where I'm living now is will work hard 5 days a week and then 2 Saturday Sunday party hard. So pleasure seeking, and 5 days a week earning money. So earning money and partying, these pleasure seeking and earning money, these are the two goals. Why? It will make me happy. Has it made you happy? It does give some pleasure, just instantaneously for some time, little bit of accomplishment, and then again. Look at the ultimate destiny of such lives 40, 50, 60 years later at the end of their lives. Is it fulfillment? Is it peace? No, never. Not even one example you will find. It's very foolishness that to do what others are doing and failing to find happiness, I will do that and I will find happiness. It's foolish to expect that. They say that the definition of insanity is to repeat that something which has not given the result, to keep on doing the same thing and expecting different results. That's the very definition of insanity. Is it at all possible to find happiness? Yes. Look at the lives of you consider to be enlightened beings, saints in all religions, in whatever the tradition, throughout history, wherever they are, they have found happiness. One common thing you will see, they are deeply satisfied and fulfilled. So spirituality does give deep happiness. The goal of life is definitely to obtain happiness, but the wisest way of obtaining happiness is through spirituality, through God realization. As Swami Vivekananda says, to manifest the divinity within, that is the goal of life.
So there was one more question, advanced question in email. I'm sure that it might have been answered. It came from Devasmita Dey. How can we apply Vedanta philosophy to direct our lives in one direction in this materialistic, hectic world?
I think we talked about that a little earlier. Correct. In one direction. Yes. So you make up your mind that I am a spiritual seeker. Why am I a spiritual seeker? But that's the right way to attain happiness. Any other way is a waste of time. It will just lead me back to this conclusion again, that no, in those ways I cannot obtain happiness. Now I must look for something else. Yes, this is the guaranteed way to obtain lasting fulfillment, guaranteed way to overcome suffering. But one must, to make it my one pointed pursuit in my life, in the midst of this materialistic life, I must make up my mind. I must commit to it, that my goal is God realization. Then everything will slowly fall into place. My daily routine, my activities, my decision making. Should I go to that party or should I not go? Should I donate this money to Sevabrata or should I not donate? Donate. My advice is to donate the money to Sevabrata. But all decisions you will be able to answer easily. If my goal is God realization, then should I do this or not do this? You will find the answer. Should I say this or not say this? You will find the answer. Should I think such thoughts or not think such thoughts? You will find the answer. At the level of thought, speech, action, all our decision making will become quite clear once I've realized, once I've understood my goal in life is God realization. Like Sri Ramakrishna's goal, like the Buddha's goal, like Narendranath's goal. My goal is the same, like Mahatma Gandhi's goal. My goal is the same. That was the advice given by Mahapurush Maharaj to that gentleman. See, Mahatma Gandhi has found peace in his life in the midst of 100 activities. That a young man who has come to find God will find peace in his life. You are not finding peace in your life because you're not committing to anything high and noble. You're just criticizing everybody and sitting around. So yes, that is the way to be one-pointed in life. Goal, very high, noble goal in life.
Okay, Maharaj, we are closing to the time, but do you have few more minutes to continue? We have plenty of questions.
Sure, definitely.
Okay, so I'll take one question from YouTube. The name is not mentioned. Pranam, could you confirm the doubt that when you say God realization, do you mean the supreme truth realization? Is it possible by combination of spiritual and scientific quest?
All right. So there are two parts to this question. Good question. God realization, what do you mean by that? Is it realization of the supreme truth? Direct answer, yes. It is conceived of as God realization in theistic religions. There are many theistic traditions in Hinduism. Theistic religions means worship of God, that I have faith that there is an ultimate reality in this universe, that is God, and I want to worship that. I have faith in that. The theistic religions like Christianity and Islam and Judaism, so these are God-oriented religions. There are religions which are not God-oriented. Buddhism, Jainism. Within Hinduism, you find traditions like Sankhya, which are not oriented towards God. They are self-realization. But in both cases, it is the ultimate truth that is being sought. Now, ultimate truth, you just keep it there, that don't make up your mind that ultimate truth has to be a materialistic truth as found by science, because I'm seeing that question means person has a predilection for scientific endeavor. Just say that there is something that I am seeking. Now, can you do that through science? A traditional Vedantist would say, no, here is a path to God realization through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, through Upanishadic Vedanta. Why don't you follow that? Why are you picking up another path? But Swami Vivekananda, he agrees with what the questioner is asking. He says, so Sister Nivedita says, Swami Vivekananda taught us that through science and through religion and through art, one can realize the same truth. But one needs, Sister Nivedita said, Swami Vivekananda told her, one needs Advaita to understand this. There's a lot of background noise. I think it is Purnima Datta. You have to mute yourself. Yes. I think one needs that spiritual goal. If I'm a scientist, just by being a scientist, will I become enlightened? Not necessarily. If I'm an artist, just by being an artist, will I become enlightened? Not necessarily. One must have that goal in mind, that there is this ultimate truth and I'm trying to realize it. It could be through physics and mathematics, but I should be open to the fact that my inquiry should go further if physics and mathematics cannot take me there. My goal is not physics and mathematics. My goal is realization of the ultimate truth. That's all I can say. And many scientists were very spiritual people. Sorry.
Next question I'll pick up from one of our very close friend, Ronak Kundu. You may be knowing him. Ronak says, Pranam Maharaj, in my day-to-day work that involves IT sales, the nature of work involves forward-looking statements, client and partner manipulations, and large layout planning from high-cost locations. It's very difficult to imagine work as worship, as Swamiji suggested. Do you think certain professions are more conducive towards spirituality, and some are not? Even Sri Ramakrishna suggested not to take up few professions.
Yes, I agree that certain professions may be more conducive towards spirituality, certain ways of life. That's why you have a monastic way of life. What is a monastic way of life? It's a specialized, it's an artificial way of life. It's a specialized way of life, but it is specialized for one purpose. The goal is spirituality. The goal is God realization. That's why you have such things. And there are some which might be very more difficult to be spiritual in that life. So in every religion, you will find prohibitions that don't do these activities. However, one thing just occurs to me, that Krishna taught Arjuna Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the central texts of Vedanta. Highest teachings of Vedanta were given by Krishna to Arjuna in the worst possible circumstance, battlefield. What is the worst occupation of human beings? Fighting and killing. In the midst of that, if Vedanta can be taught, then in the midst of your corporate warfare, in your planning for layoffs, and which can cause a lot of suffering to others, in the midst of that also one can be spiritual, I think. But no doubt you're right, it can be quite difficult.
Okay, I'll take the next question from YouTube. It comes from Mr. Anirban Roy. Someone who is devoted to science and realization of the world through physical rules and mathematics, can he continue through this path to attain happiness and meaning?
I think so. I know I have a friend, for example, who is a leading mathematician in India. He firmly believes that. So through his mathematics research and his personal spiritual practices. But one must be a committed spiritual seeker, that my goal is God realization. So he says, somebody asked him, You are a monk, you are a spiritual seeker, why are you doing mathematics? For me, the service is mathematics. That is the talent I've been born with. That is the special skill that God has given me. I will serve humanity through mathematics. It is also a quest, part of my spiritual quest. So if you are a trained physicist or a mathematician or some other branch of science, it's good. We cannot ignore that. We live in a world of science. We must not ignore the age we live in. Shankaracharya and Gaudapada and others were great, no doubt. But I'm sure if you look at their mentality, if they were living today, they would certainly be very interested in scientific quest, in the scientific progress and quest. Swami Vivekananda himself was very interested. So when he came here, you know that he met Tesla, he met William James, a number of other noted thinkers in the United States. Tesla and Swami Vivekananda actually set up a correspondence. He was convinced that scientific inquiry would validate at least some of the results of Sankhya. So yes, again, science can be a path of self-realization. But again, very important, one must have that quest in mind. Just by being a scientist or a mathematician, one does not become enlightened. One must be seeking, one must be a spiritual seeker, and then do science and continue your spiritual practices along with it. It's a wonderful life. You're a scientist, you're doing research, studying, and at the same time, you do your surveys, meditation, Vedantic inquiry.
Okay. Maharaj, let me take this question. This is a little interesting. It comes from one of our core member, Maitadi, but actually it is from her 10-year-old daughter who was listening to you and wants to ask this question.
Yeah.
What spirituality means to you? And she requested that you answer that so that she can understand.
Okay. I think you can understand if I say, if you've been listening to all this, you are intelligent enough to and mature enough to understand what is going on here. What spirituality means to me, I'll answer it as a personal question. I'll answer it in a personal way. It means, what am I really? That is the question which interests me. So I am this Sarvapriyananda. Am I just this body? I have some thoughts and feelings, desires in the mind. That's all. But the body is changing. All the mind is continuously changing. What is the deeper truth beyond or behind this body mind? What Vedanta tells me, that I am this infinite being, consciousness. Is this true? Can I find this out? That is what spirituality means to me. And then how do I live in this life? After finding that out, how do I behave with others? What work should I do? How do I live in this life? So to answer your question, these two things: finding out what I am and what all these books are promising, that you are not the body, not the mind, you are an infinite, unlimited being. Is such a thing true? Can I find this out? That seems to be wonderful. That if you search within, you can find this. That is the meaning of the word God, that unlimited existence. After finding that out, or while finding that out, how do I live in life? What's the best way of living in life? This is the meaning of spirituality for me. What's your name? It's the name of the young girl. Have they mentioned?
Yeah, Maitavi, you can unmute and tell.
Yeah, Pranam Swamiji. Her name is Ridhima. She's coming. 1 second.
All right. So Ridhima should. Yes. Ridhima should go on studying. I can see you, Ridhima. Go on reading. Read Vivekananda. You will find the answers to these questions. Don't give up the question. Yes.
So next question I'll pick up from Sanghamitra Kaur, one of our core member in Sevabrata. Pranam Maharaj, in the current situation of pandemic, when atheists are happily pointing at God's existence or his cruelty, how to keep faith in spirituality and how to answer them from the spiritual point of view?
Yes, so one of the arguments against the existence of God in the theistic religions, one of the arguments against the existence of God is the presence of suffering and evil in this world. There is so much suffering in the world. Then how is it compatible with the existence of God? If you look carefully, what is the question? The question is this, that in these religions, when you define God, what is God? God is all-powerful, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. That means all-powerful, all-knowing, present everywhere. And God is good. God is loving. God is just. Now, an all-powerful, all-knowing God, who is also good and loving God, how can such a God permit so much suffering in this world? COVID is one latest example, but suffering is pervading the whole of nature. There's so much suffering in nature throughout, physical pain, emotional pain, so many problems are there. So how does God permit all this? This means that God does not exist. So this is the argument which is given. And the religions of the world, which are theistic, which are God-based religions, they give many arguments to try to solve. This is called the problem of evil. To try to solve the problem of evil. Why there is suffering, why God permits this kind of suffering and evil, if God exists. So what are the answers? If you look it up, problem of evil, answers to the problem of evil, you will find many answers. There was one book, The Problem of Evil in Indian Philosophy, Arthur Herman. But there, not only Indian philosophy, he has collected the answer to this question from all the traditions of the world, all the religions of the world, all the philosophies and literature of the world. And to this question, why God permits so much suffering? How can there be suffering when God exists? The answer he has come up with 26 answers. He has a list, 26 answers. What are the answers? Many answers are there, but let me give you one or two. One answer is often given, it is the free will answer. We have, human beings, we have free will. And if we misuse that free will, it leads to suffering. God has given us that free will and given us the freedom to misuse it also. That is the freedom we have got. But the result of that misuse of free will be suffering. If you use it properly, build a good life for yourself, be a good person, you will be happy. If you misuse the free will, do bad things, be an immoral person, you'll be unhappy. Now that's one theory, and there are many defects to that theory also. So one might say that the COVID, so was it due to misuse of free will? Might be. If there is anything to those theories, there are some theories that COVID was man-made in a laboratory. Maybe that is not at all proved yet, but suppose that is true. In that case, it is certainly a misuse of human free will. But if it is natural, then is it a misuse of human free will or is it God's creation? So there are defects to this theory also. One more theory. Let me give another theory to answer this question, which we accept in India. It is the theory of karma. That means whatever is happening in this world is the result of past causes. Causes lead to effects. What you are seeing now are the effects. So they are seeing the consequences. Behind them, sometime in this lifetime or past lifetimes, some cause was there, which is leading to these effects. So again, it is not God's fault. It is my fault that I'm suffering. But I don't know where the fault lies because it may not be in this lifetime. I cannot see the connection. But there is a certain logic to this law of karma because we believe in causation, cause and effect. The whole of science is based on some form of causality. So if you are seeing certain effects in the world, there must be some cause. If I am seeing so much suffering in this world, there must be some cause. And so karma is basically a kind of theory of causality. So in that sense, it is little logical. There are even other theories. What is the Buddhist answer to all of this? The Buddhist answer is nothing to do with God. It says that the very nature of this world is suffering. Samsara is suffering. The first noble truth of Buddha is dukkham, sarvam dukkham. The world is pervaded by suffering. Why? One reason is change. See, when am I not suffering? When am I happy? When the setup around me is like to my liking. When my health is good, I have enough money, when the climate is good, when people around me treat me nicely, when I have got nice food to eat, when I have a nice entertainment, all the things which I want, when they are at the nice level, my expected level, it is there, then I am happy. But if it changes drastically, any one of those things, it can make me unhappy. Now you see, this is a recipe for disaster. This is a recipe for unhappiness. Because if the world is continuously changing, even if I at one time attain my best possible setup, what will happen? Next moment, it will change. The moment it will change, why will it change? Because the world changes always. If it changes, then it is no longer my optimum setup. So I'll be unhappy. The result is that most of the time I'll be unhappy. Why? Not God's fault. Not even ultimately my own fault by karma. It's the fault of the whole structure, the setup of samsara. It is sort of designed to create dissatisfaction and unhappiness. You cannot be perfectly happy within samsara. And therefore, the whole argument for spirituality, that you must end this cycle of samsara and go out of it. So anyway, there are many, many theories. The ultimate theory which I personally subscribe to, why is there so much trouble and suffering in the world, is called the theory of Maya. Still a theory, but I think it's the most acceptable one. Yes.
The next question from Purnima Datta. Pranam Maharaj, love to the neighbor and loving God matches with another, each other. Atmana mokhartam jagadhitacha also matches with one another. But in the situation like battlefield, how to remember God? Arjuna has Lord always with him, and he agreed to fight only after enlightenment. But what about us?
In the battlefield, of course, Arjuna's, you cannot say literally love to the enemies, because you're killing the enemies. But there you see, notice the language which is used. Yudhyacha, fight, do your duty in the battlefield. So if the duty is to you are a warrior, you have to punish the evildoers. That is the role you have been put by God, by situation in life. You have to do that. So for us, what is the thing to be done in the battlefield of life? Notice who you are. You may be father, mother, husband, wife. You may be an executive or doctor, teacher. In whatever circumstance you are, you will find a series of duties surround you, a series of expectations around you. That is your battlefield. Now there, within the limits of dharma, based on spirituality, you will fight the battle of life. And so, but I am doing that. Mostly we don't do that. Mostly what we do is we find ourselves surrounded by duties, expectations, responsibilities, but most of it is clouded over by our own likes and dislikes and our desires. And those likes and dislikes, raga, dvesha, our desires, are very much based on our limited personality, this little body and mind. So we really don't do what is expected of us in the best possible way. We do it clouded by selfishness. Everything is sort of, our activities are sort of twisted by our perspective on one little self-oriented perspective. Spirituality helps us to overcome that.
Okay, the question from our Sudeep Mujumdar, Pranam Maharaj. So we need to address each of our activities as if it is an act of worship to God.
Yes, that is the best way to do our action. So any of our activities, as long as it is not illegal, as long as it is not immoral, you can do it as a worship of God. In fact, that is what is going on in this universe. It is a gigantic, a vast cosmic worship of God is going on. You have to recognize that.
Dr. Atanu Bhanja asked, during meditation, my mind becomes very restless. What is to be done?
So that is the beautiful answer given by Krishna in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. When Arjuna asked this very question, my mind becomes restless, Sri Krishna's answer was twofold. Practice. What is practice? A regular, sincere effort. It must be systematic, it must be regular and sincere. Regular, there must be a daily routine. At least 20 minutes, 30 minutes, fixed time, fixed place, in a proper, like a pure state of mind. You calmly sit down. Now I will keep my mind on God. Fix it in time, space, object. Desha kala vastu. How? In this time and in this space, I will think of only this form of God. So for example, here in this meditation room or in this meditation asana where I'm sitting, in this heart, my mind will stay. I'm locking my mind in this heart. Suppose I'm visualizing God in the heart, depending on your technique of meditation. So my mind, where will the mind go? Physically, don't let the mind think about anything else except here. Or you're meditating on an image or a picture. So except that picture, mind should not think of anything else. That is locking the mind in space. Then the locking the mind in time. For the next 30 minutes, from now till next end of 30 minutes, the mind will not think of anything else except God, except my Ishta Devata. So that's locking the mind in time. Then the locking the mind in object. So mind thinks about many things, many people, many thoughts come into the mind. Let all the thoughts be about that one object. That is my Ishta Devata, my Ramakrishna, my Krishna, my Kali, in that way. Time, space, object, lock the mind, mind will be. So this is called abhyasa, practice. Then what else did Krishna say? Vairagya. Certain dispassion is necessary. If I'm too much concerned with the world, mind will be restless. Mind is restless means there is too much concern. Somewhere the mind is tied to the world. That story Sri Ramakrishna used to say, 3 friends who were drunkards. They were going home late in the night. They got into the boat and they rowed the boat continuously, thinking they will cross the river and go home. Next morning, they found they were in the same place, in the same that jetty where the boat was tied. Why? They had forgotten to untie the boat. So whole night they were rowing, but the boat did not go anywhere. The boat is still tied to that place. Similarly, the mind is still tied to money and job and relatives, my personal disputes. So all of that mind is tied to, then it will not meditate. So vairagya, dispassion. In this time, this place, I will not think about others. They are appearances, like a dream, like a cinema. There's no reality there. Only reality is my Ishta Devata. So this is the technique of meditation taught by Krishna to Arjuna. But what we talked about today was, the more we tend to spiritualize our activities outside of meditation time, the better our meditation will be. The more we see our activities as worship of God, and then when we sit down to meditate, the mind will become calmer, and we'll sit down, we'll meditate more easily.
Okay, I'll pick up one question from YouTube, comes from Subhasankar Chaudhary. Pranam Maharaj, how one can remove jealousy from life?
One can remove jealousy by expanding oneself. It's only when I consider there is this other person who is my equal and separate from me, I'm in competition with that person, and that person is getting something. Why is he getting it? I should get it and he should not get it. Then it leads to jealousy. Now, the way to overcome this is to include the other person in your definition of yourself. I am not just this little being. I am the consciousness shining through this little being. It's called Sarvapriyananda. But the same consciousness, I am in all beings, including that person. That person's success makes me happy, because in deep sense, it is my success. That is one way. The other way is devotion to God. So my Krishna, my Divine Mother Kali or Sri Ramakrishna is in the heart of that person. My relationship is to God in the heart of that person, not to that little personality. So the successes and failures of that person, I will sympathize and I will be happy, because my Lord alone is there. And it is my Lord alone which is making all those things happen. I should be happy. Another way is the way of the Karma Yogi, which is that my whole purpose in life, I'm redefining, not my narrow little goals for success in life for this person only, but my whole purpose in life, let people be happy. Let people all around me be healthy and happy and successful. And my goal is also to be of help to others. The more I practice this being of help to others, the less will be my jealousy of others.
Maharaj, you need to tell me how much time you can devote.
We
have
should wrap up
plenty.
now. Maybe take one more question and then wrap
Okay.
up.
Okay, so it is coming from Prithvish Dasgupta. Education is the manifestation of the perfection already present in man. What is meaning of already present in man? Do we bring manifestation of the perfection while we born?
Yes. So this is the definition given by Swami Vivekananda. It's a very simple definition, but it's a very deep definition also. So Swami Vivekananda says here, education actually does not mean pouring knowledge and skills from outside into a receptacle which is empty. This was the old idea of education. You're an empty vessel, now teacher will come and pour knowledge into you, or books will pour knowledge into you. No. Rather, what actually happens is that the potential is already there within us. And teacher and books and all educational aids, they are just like stimulants which will enable us to develop ourselves. So it is like a seed which is planted into the ground. And of course, then you need water and fertilizers, sunlight and air. Then only it will bloom and it will produce flowers. But remember, all that capacity was in the seed. It is not really the sunlight, air, fertilizer, water, which has become the flower. It all goes in there, but the capacity was in the seed, because each seed will bloom in a different way. And the gardener's job is to provide the best possible environment to enable the seed to bloom. Similarly, we all have tremendous potential. I'm now not talking about Atman or Brahman, just tremendous potential in the mind, in our emotions, in our intellect, in our physical body. And all of these can be developed and expressed through proper education, through yoga, through development of the talents like music and art, through intellectual pursuits. In all of these ways, inherent capacity is being developed. Now, it's interesting that modern educational psychology is now beginning to agree with this. Now, the dominant idea in modern educational psychology is something called constructivism. Constructivism means that knowledge does not come from outside. If you are a good teacher, then knowledge will arise in the mind of the child based on your inputs. The child will rearrange his own thoughts and concepts and then come to an understanding. And isn't that actually how we learn? Teacher teaching 50 students in the classroom, 50 students should get the same knowledge, but they don't. When the same teacher is teaching, same textbook is there, 50 students will understand in different ways. Some will not understand, some will understand wrongly, some will understand perfectly, some will get a deeper understanding. And that depends on the mental makeup, what is going on in the conceptual world of the child. So the inputs come from outside, and like a gardener giving a proper environment, then from inside there is a development or manifestation. So that's the manifestation of the perfection which Swami Vivekananda was saying. Not just at the intellectual level, not conceptual level only. It could be artistic level, it could be physical level, at every level. That manifestation of the potential within is what Swami Vivekananda calls manifestation of the perfection within. That is education.
Maharaj, can we take one more question?
Okay, one more question.
Okay, so it is coming from Kakoli, and also Nilesh asked a similar type of question. I'll read out both the questions. Kakoli says, Pranam Maharaj, how to apply spiritualism to uplift our mind in this pandemic situation when we are losing so many lives? And on the similar note, Nilesh also asked, how to see positive side of a negative situation or be positive in negativity?
Answer to both is spirituality. What do you do practically? First and foremost, nothing in this pandemic or nothing in samsara can ultimately affect you. You are that infinite existence consciousness bliss. You were always that. You are that now. We may not see it. We may not understand what is being said here. We may not even believe it. But you are that. That's what Vedanta tells you. One sadhu in Uttarakhand said, "Tum jano ya na jano, tum mano ya na mano, tum hi Ram." Whether you accept it or not, whether you believe it or not, you are Rama. That means you are God. You are God. So that is the foundation. Stay there. Be either understand through Vedantic inquiry and it becomes clear to you, or even if I do not understand, at least believe it. So many things we believe. Why not this one, this positive thought? Second is that my attitude is to be helpful. So in every situation, what can I think, what can I say, and what can I do, which will be a positive contribution to the situation. In a situation, in a problem, I should be part of the solution. I should not be part of the problem. And daily, spend some time with God. If you have got mantra diksha, if not, I recommend that. Take mantra diksha, spend some time morning and evening, cut off the world, good, bad, evil, what it is, coronavirus, no coronavirus, whatever it is, cut off the world, spend some time within yourself. I've seen it actually works. Actually, patients who are sick and dying, in some cases, they passed away. Towards the last part of their life and the sickness, the only thing they found peace in was spirituality. In different cases, some case it was a more Buddhistic approach, awareness. Some case it was devotion. I will hold on to Ma Sharada only. This is at the end of my life. In some case, it was like a mantra, repeating the mantra continuously. Only one thing gave peace and strength at the very end of life also, and that is spiritual practice. So in life, at the point of death, beyond death, remember, death is only death of the physical body. Even if it comes to the point then I'm dying also of COVID or whatever it is, that also is not a big deal. I am that witness which will not die. I was not born with the birth of the body. I will not die with the death of the body. I am that immortal awareness. That is a source of great peace. From that perspective, you live life, you will live life in peace. I think that's a good point to end on.
Yep. So many thanks, Maharaj. We really privileged and honored to have you with us today. Knowing your busy and tight schedule, no words is enough to appreciate the insight, teachings, and valuable inputs we received throughout this session. I'm sure this will definitely help us to have some positive impact in our daily life and society. In fact, we have many more questions. We'll try to get those answers from Maharaj via email. You all please share your email and questions to us by sending an email to sevabratafoundation@gmail.com. So as they say, every good things come to an end. So we are at the closer of our session. Once again, I'd like to thank Swami Sarvapriyananda for his precious time with us today and valuable suggestions and guidance. Thank you so much, Maharaj, and please accept our pronouns. From all of us here at Sevabrata Foundation, I sincerely thank you all to join and participate today. Appreciate your valuable time. We look forward to your support, contribution, and best wishes, which are the pillar of our Sevabrata Foundation to work and do better in coming days. Please visit us. Our website is www.sevabrata.org, and subscribe our Sevabrata Foundation Facebook page and YouTube channel. Until we meet again, thank you all. Take care, be blessed, and stay safe. So before we end, I'll close it with a Vedic chanting, Shanti mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Until we meet again, thank you all. Hari Om. Be blessed.